Hello, friends. This is John Klein III with episode 111 of Shadow and Flame of Magic, the podcast. And today we're going to review Excalibur, the Sword is Drawn, otherwise known as Excalibur Special Edition number 1. So let's get to it. Brr, 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 brr. Brr, brr, brr. And so on February 14, 2023, nope, 2024, we lost legendary inker Paul Neary, who was a very famous British artist and editor of Marvel UK. And he kicked off Excalibur um, with a one shot that I bought issue one, read a bunch, and then I remember reading other articles or issues about, Excalibur starting this way and that way. I was like, that's not the first issue of Excalibur. And then it finally dawned on me I was missing an issue. And maybe I thought special edition meant it was a fancy version of issue one. But no, they started this with a very high quality volume. And my copy, I'm pretty sure I bought this from Mile High Comics, is near mint or mint. First print, someone wrote on the poly bag. Gorgeous cover. With the team fighting the Technic and War Wolves. And the sword is drawn. Oh yeah, and it came out in 1987, and I don't see a. Oh yeah, and it is 325 US or 425 cans. Writers Chris Claremont, penciler Alan Davis, inker Paul Neary, with special thanks to Mark Farmer for assistance, which I couldn't tell which pages he did. Lettered legendary Tom Orzechowski, colorist equally legendary Glynis Oliver, editor Ann Nocenti, assistant editor Terry Cavanaugh, editor-in-chief Tom DeFalco, credited by Chris Claremont and Alan Davis. And the issue opens. Kitty Pryde, toss, turn, fidget to and fro, tick-tock, the clock time drags, slower by the minute, through a night that lasts forever. All she wants is sleep. So much to ask, a small slice of obliviation, to take the hurt away, but because she hurts, thoughts racing, images replaying, itching themselves, those final awful moments, how she hates them, into her mind's eye. She can't. She'd cry if she had any tears left. And this whole comic has like this beautiful painting quality to it, which I can only imagine is Davis, Neary, and Oliver just working on all cylinders. Um, I don't know, it just looks like it was painted and then printed on comic book paper. So it's like, it's a very interesting, pleasing appeal to the eyes. And this has like a nice, like it's clearly dusk and so it's like a very light blue like hue to it all. Kitty's room has a computer right in front of her bed, a giant teddy bear or a plush bunny with a tinier teddy bear. On posters, she has a Hepburn, but it's not Audrey Hepburn. A once and future king, which is, gonna play into bigger effect later. And so Kitty wakes up. Someone is putting powder on her face, asking for autographs for fans. She is very alarmed. She does not know what anything that's happening. They throw her into her blue, what I always think of as her Excalibur outfit, but it predates it. It's her outfit she wore post Kitty Pryde and Wolverine. Harsh for harsh words, foul thoughts, rage, a welcome anodyne for grief, all vanishing the instant she thrusts on stage. And then this is a beautiful double page spread where all the X-Men are acting as actors, doing some real actoring. Oh, and I mentioned in the previous episode, but sadly Paul Neary passed away, but also oh gosh, oh wow ended its 3-year run, so many happy endings. Well, I guess no new beginnings, but just two endings. Kitty's there. Colossus is smoking a cigar, playing some cards with some crew. Rogue is sunbathing in a green like one piece. Havoc is in a chair called understudy, reading his script. Storm's in a gorgeous like orange dress with opera gloves. British Betsy, just in that pink outfit of hers, is just sitting listening to Storm. People are moving around the set. Xavier is the ex-director. There's Longshot and Dazzler just warming up to each other. She has her hand inside his jacket. He's doing a very deep V neck. And by neck I mean like it goes all the way down to his belt buckle. Someone's doing Logan's nails as he's reading a book called Japanese Flower Arrangements, and it just looks amazing. And what a great way for the art team to get an opportunity to just draw the X-Men. And Kitty's just confused as like, oh yeah, because at this point the X-Men are dead due to the events of Fall of the Mutants, and then she's in Muir Island because of Mutant Massacre. So it's just a conclusion of multiple plot points. To wonder if she lost her mind, Stanley presents Excalibur, or perhaps miraculously found the answer to her most heartfelt prayers. So Kitty says aloud, "The X-Men, they're alive." And she thinks, "I knew it couldn't be true. Had to be a mistake, that they would find a way to beat the Reaper." But what's with the movie studio? Professor Xavier's our teacher, the man who founded the team. Why is he playing director? Psylocke, when did the X-Men decide to go Hollywood? Your eyes. You got no eyes. Which is a great reference to Mojo taking her eyes and Spyro putting cameras in them. And hints they're on a movie set. So, it's just all these great concepts coming together. And her powers are not working. And Rogue's like, come on, man. Like, nothing works until we're told action. Because, like, Kitty falls on Rogue and Rogue's bare skin touches her neck and, no power absorption's happening. And then finally, Xavier, Director X, is like, action! And then Colossus mellows up, Rogue's flying, Storm's flying, Kitty falls backwards and like phases through a lighting fixture. All of a sudden, everyone's back to normal, and she says aloud, "And look at me, I can phase. This is sick. How could I dream something so cruel, and why can't I break out of it?" And this is also during the time where her power, like she's intangible as her default state, but she's not a ghost anymore, thanks to Doctor Doom or Reed Richards. And then a voice in red high heels says, "You forget, dreams are sometimes windows to other realities. And waking doesn't always make things better." As page turn reveal, it's Rachel Summers, everyone, in her all red outfit, the spiky horns. She will let you touch her when she wants you to, and she does not ever want you to. Rachel, I don't understand. This has to be a dream, only it feels so real. And the X-Men, more puppets than people, travesties of the heroes I remember. When the reality no longer exists, exploiters can take the legend and make it whatever they want, good or bad. And then Xavier shouts at Rachel, like, "Get out of here, you're not in this." And then you see all the X-Men like whipping chains around Rachel and like pulling at her in all directions. And Kitty's like, "Stop it, stop it." And then she touches the chains and Rachel's able to phase through everything with a giant phoenix effect. And then we see everyone's mad at Kitty, and all of a sudden the werewolves come out of the X-Men's bodies, which is very trauma inducing as you see like beaks pulling out of their faces and stretching their faces so wide. Werewolves, classic Excalibur enemies. I'm sure they're Captain Britain enemies, but they're scary. They pretty much are just like big silver. Calling them dogs is underplaying how giant they are. But I guess they're like Great Dane sized dogs. And all silver, and they pretty much kill humans and then wear their skins. And somehow, I guess, decrease their sizes to get in them. I guess you're not supposed to think about that too much. And then they're chasing Kitty. She wakes up from her nightmare, falling on the bed. It's like, no, please don't bite her bedroom me. And then she shouts again, no! And she phases through the room and she's outside thinking, I'm back on Muir Isle, where I belong. But if that was a dream, the reality is still the same awful. And then she sees the big phoenix force in the horizon. And she says aloud, in the sunrise, the phoenix effect. And she thinks to herself, now what the heck does that mean? Freaky after an image of a very freaky dream, or harbinger or something worse? Rachel disappeared months ago. Haven't even thought of her in ages. Feel pretty lousy about that. Feel lousier about my dream. Am I really so perverso inside as to imagine my dearest friends as slaves? Of one of the team's most disgusting foes? And so angry, resentful that they're gone? Or is it because I got left behind? And then this is gonna be one of the images I post on the podcast's socials, which would be SNFWM and spelled out on Twitter and Instagram. Then I'll reuse these when I promote the episode tomorrow or the day you listen to this. Unless you're super dedicated and you listen to this at the midnight hour. But Lockheed's in the room. She's like, "Hiya, Lockheed." And then this whole page, and then these are the only two pages he's in the issue. So this is what we're promoting, and there's still the gorgeous blue hue over everything. But you can see Lockheed's purple, so it's very nicely colored. And Davis and Neary draw a pitch perfect Lockheed. Possibly my second favorite Lockheed after Paul Smith. Yeah, I think I can stand on that. I was about to say, oh, the artist who did the Kitty Pryde Shadow and Flame miniseries, but of course, that's Paul Smith, so yeah, I think we're good. How's my best dragon? How about a scratch cutums in your favorite spot between your shoulder? Ah, blast and darnation! As she tries to pet him, she phases right through his neck, and you see he looks sad. Probably for one, he's not getting any back scratches. But also, poor kitty. He knows how much of a struggle everything is for her. Forgot. I'm not normal anymore, even for an X-Man. My natural state is to be phased, as physically intangible as a ghost. To become solid, I have to concentrate hard as I can. Hooray! But it won't last long. And you see Lockheed just like, looking at her with like as much empathy as he can. What a mess. Oh golly, I remember. I fell asleep with these pictures in my arms. Me and Professor Xavier. Oh yeah, let's go back to the first page. Oh man, I was gonna say like, of course the pictures are here, but I don't see them. But they could be on the sides of her bed. Me and Professor Xavier, when I first joined the school, and she's wearing that blue blazer that the Pride of the X-Men Kitty Pryde is sort of wearing. But it looks more like what a 13-year-old would wear here instead of a clearly 30-year-old from the cartoon. And a team shot. And the team is the perfect team. It's, well, minus Colossus. Rogue, Storm, Cyclops, Kurt, Logan, and Rachel. And now she says on her knees crying. Right before everything fell apart, now he's gone, away across the universe, probably never to return, and the X-Men are dead. And she's just in a fetal position now, and poor Loki just has his hands on her, just like in his, I can't imagine his head's on her back. It's like, oh. Now we're going to move a little faster here, but the Celtic Sea off the west coast of England. She's been swimming alone when the pod popped up and asked her to play. The dolphin's natural exuberance was too infectious to be denied. And we see Megan, everyone. And she has a sleek water design with some blue skin until she flips into the above the water, and then she turns, her pinkish flesh tone, but she still has like a sleek dolphin-like head, I imagine. She knew next to nothing of the sea, so they delighted in teaching her its wonders and mysteries. She was having so much fun. She lost all track of time until, and then she's doing what do you call dolphins that breach the surface when they're doing their not flips but dives? And she sees the Phoenix force in the distance. She's like, huh, all right, I better tell Brian about this. And by the time I was reading Excalibur, it was probably like around issue 52 or so. I know I wrote on the podcast. It's whichever one Spider-Man's on the cover of. Not in the podcast. I wrote about it on the blog at shadowandflamewithmagic.com. Um, but Excalibur showed up in Spider-Man 25, the solo title that Todd McFarlane launched, but was off by the time 25 came along. And I was like, who is this team? Because I'm pretty sure maybe the X-Men cartoon was coming out soon, but this was like my first real exposure to the X-Men, and it was Excalibur, and I was like, I like this team. And then, Terry Kavanagh, who wrote that issue, was also the editor of Excalibur, so I'm sure he just had the thought, hey, I wonder if I can have Excalibur show up. He talked to himself with his editor hat on and was like, yeah, buddy, you can use them. Only if you show up in their issue, and then on stands, there was Spider-Man in their comic, and then, you buy two issues, one you wouldn't have bought otherwise, and then boom, guest star appearances do sell comics. As everyone knows, with all the Logan appearances of the 890s and pretty much up to today as well. Oh, so anyway, so by the time I started reading them, Megan and Brian were clearly a great couple, and, you know, just dating and making their way towards getting married. No, not at that time. At that time, Brian's about to go into the time stream. But, like they're an established couple. But reading this issue, it's like, oh, that's right. Brian is a horrible boyfriend in this. And poor Megan and her Navite. She just, like, she knows she's being mistreated, but she also doesn't know what to do about it. So she just sticks around. It's like, oh, Megan, you deserve so much better. Her name is Megan, and she is as much a creature of the earth as of man. In olden days, she had been called one of the fairy folk. Actually, though, she's a mutant, and she's looking for Brian. She sees the room is a wreck. There's pictures all over the place of Betsy and Brian, who are twins, as little kids, and then graduating, and then Betsy's modeling career taking off. And then her joining the X-Men with a little postcard saying, Psylocke joins the X-Men, big brother. Wish me luck. It's like, oh, Betsy. And then there's the news reports of the X-Men dying, including um, the English mutant known by the code identity, Psylocke. But she does wear a mask, so clearly if you're in England, you're like, oh yeah, that's Britain's most beautiful woman, Betsy Braddock. And then she flies lower into the light house, which is great symbology of like, yeah. So not only did he start drinking in the main room, now he's even further down into his own soul, but physically as well. And Brian's just been crying. He's snapping at her. He's like, go away, Megan, as he throws like whatever, alcohol he's drinking right onto the ground. He smashes his mask and he's like, I don't want your sympathy. I only want to be left alone. Ugh, I'm a man and I'm a jerk. And Megan just leaves and cries, and she doesn't know what to say, and whatever she says makes it worse. And it's just like, Megan, that's not on you. There's a panel here where she reverts back to her almost natural state, or whatever Megan thinks might be. Or she just feels bad, so she makes herself look bad. Or it's like, oh, Megan. And then she thinks about Brian and puts on her supermodel face. And poor Megan doesn't know how to write. So she tries to make a sign saying, Lighthouse, Megan, go to this house with a cat next to it. Where I'm like, oh, Megan, you're such a sweet character. Mirror Isle, the gymnasium, fun and games. And Kurt's just swashbuckling against a bunch of robots with a bunch of gymnasium bars around. He's taking the extra step to give all the robots big old floppy hats with feathers sticking out of them. He's like, "Oh, Kurt, you remain the best." And then instinctively, one of the robots tries to poke him with a sword. I guess the word would be stab, right? And Kurt gets stabbed by the point of it, and instinctively bamfs away. And then he's exhausted after the first bamf, and he's trying to turn off the control panel, but instead someone beats him to it, and it's Kitty phasing right through it. Nightcrawler, oh crumbs! And then all the robots cling to the ground, which just makes me think about Turtle Soup and how Patron Ranger helps them not say cling, where it's like, oh yeah, because they're not robots. Bless you, Captain. You okay, Nightcrawler? Jaw. Thanks for your timely intervention. Great, then you mind telling me what the heck you were thinking playing at here? And I love Kitty. She's wearing this great outfit. It's blue jeans, calf length red boots, a nice red shirt, white I don't know, feathery jacket. And it's just like, man, I really just miss the X-Men just wearing proper clothes when they're not, superheroing. But Kurt is wearing his classic, red and black outfit because he was, in the gym, so he was working out. So that makes perfect sense. A full bore combat exercise with the safety interlocks disconnected so soon after your release from the Mariah's hospital? Are you crazy? Lucky for you, the backup alarm sounded in the house the minute you started. I had to learn, Kitty, if I had lost my edge. Doesn't it matter if in the process you lose your life? What gives, Kurt? You feel left out because the rest of the X-Men got killed and you didn't? And we didn't? You figured on this being the perfect way to catch up to them? And now he's putting on a jacket and, he's just like, you have no right to say such things. You have the right to give me a cause. Ja, I know, I'm sorry. When I awoke from my coma, I was so happy to be alive, dear Ketchin. You cannot imagine. All I remembered was the pain of being wounded. The next thing I knew, I was here in Myers McTaggart's mutant research facility. It was months later. I thought I had a taste of death, but I survived. I beat the Reaper. My time but come, but not today. I wanted to share that joy with those I love. Bess, you and Peter and Logan Aurora with all the X-Men. Oh, he didn't name Rogue. Only I couldn't because they were dead. I know how you feel, Kurt. And then last night I had this dream I've never had the like. When it was done, I felt ashamed, almost physically ill. I was in a movie studio with twisted, decadent versions of the X-Men as the cast and Air Professor Xavier, our director. And Rachel was there too, some kind of prisoner, and you helped her escape? Ja! Only I was left behind to behold the X-Men's transformation into monsters. The proof, the prof called them werewolves. You also then. Pretty weird, huh? If we both had the same experience, maybe it wasn't really a dream. And it's so cute. So like clearly the facility is where the gymnasium is. And then they have a nice little walk here. They can only imagine it's in real time, and then they get to this nice cottage where they've been living. Ray's a telepath. Maybe she was trying to send us a message. Question is, why now after staying out of touch for so long? And what's it all mean? Probably some new and transcendent disaster. That isn't funny. Shouldn't we do something about it? The pair of us, crippled as we are? Just because we've been hurt doesn't mean we stop being X-Men. And you hear knock, knock, knock. Crumbs the door. And I don't remember Kitty saying crumbs this much, but I guess she's doing it. Duck outside, Kurt, while I see who it is. And she opens the door, and Kurt just literally stood behind the door. And it's Gatecrasher, everybody. And that little wormy guy. Salutations, small and youthful sentience. I grow weary endlessly repeating my. Oh yeah, Oh yeah, his name's not Lizard. He's like, Snee, two paraforms present, mother, none others close enough to interfere. And he's just hanging on her back. I grow weary of endlessly repeating myself, Lizard. Don't call me mother. Yes, mother. Ugh. You aren't so infernally useful. I am Gatecrasher. Will you please inform the master or mistress of this domicile of my presence? Would you mind taking your hand out of my face? Because I guess Gatecrasher tried to. I don't know about shaking Kitty's hand, but like, or patting her on the head maybe, but her hand goes right through Kitty's whole body. You terrestrial paraforms come in such stimulating spirited variety, and never fails to amaze. Look, Gatecrasher, I hate to disappoint you, but Dr. McGregor, this is her house and her island. She's away right now. If you care to leave a number or address, regrettably, dear girl, time oppresses and delays cannot be countenanced. Snee, mother, intruder, immediately arriving. And they see Megan come in all happy, like, hello, kitty. And Kurt's like, who? Megan, Captain Britain's girlfriend. Like, so much is going on here. She certainly knows how to make an entrance. By the way, Captain, who's Captain Britain? And Megan's like, you, the hippopotamus. Because clearly Gatecrasher is a Captain Britain enemy. You guys know each other? Spectacular. Salutations, Swingling. You appear as formidably lovely as ever. Whatever you're after, you'd better leave Brian alone. Rest assured, I have absolutely no interest in your dear captain. So why are you here? I need to talk with you, Kitty. It's important. And Gatecrasher's just like, actually, darling, I believe she was addressing me. It's like it's cute though, because it's like, yeah, Megan's is in the room. Kitty was talking to her, and then she like talked to her, like I don't know. It's a good visual gag. I like it. Like Excalibur starts off so strong. Like no wonder. I mean, it's the longest running comic series I own. Like I own every issue of it. Oh, 125 plus issues of it. And then Gatecrasher starts a message from Opal Luna Saturnine, who introduces herself. Omniversal Magistrix, responsible for the maintenance of order and reality in this sector of creation. And Kurt's immediately taken by her, and Megan's immediately disgusted by her. The witch. I never understood what Brian saw in her. She's like, you can just read all the seething into it. And Kitty's like, boy, I can, darn it. It's like, oh, Kitty, you're so great. And the message continues, Gatecrasher's Technic are my duly authorized agents responsible for the apprehension of this threat to reality, more commonly known as Phoenix, who is believed to be en route to Sol 3, the planet Earth. I hereby charge and require that the inhabitants thereof, as a sentient species, offer all appropriate assistance in this endeavor. And Kitty's like, what she want with Rachel? Okay, Crusher's like, dear girl, Saturnine neglected to take us into her confidence. To be honest, once somebody doesn't subject the omniversal magistrates to that sort of examination. And Kitty's like, stinking bounty hunter, I don't know you. Oh, yeah, and then she says horrible comments about her weight, where it's like, come on, Kid Crusher's awesome. Oh, yeah, and she doesn't understand if those are insults, and the lizard's like, insults, y'all. And so then they start to trying to fight, and then all the Technics show up, and because it's a Chris Claremont book, they all get named, which is nice. And but now we got to turn the page to get them named, because I don't know. I know there's Feral. I know there's Thug. I know. I just read this like a couple hours ago. The Boy Joy, right? The lady who touches you and makes you just like start buzzing. The big orange guy, the big old red eyes. The green guy that sucks you into, like, slurps you up and then puts you in little eggs in his back. So I see who the comic names. Oh yeah, Scatterbrain, which makes you feel ecstasy. And then Megan, oh yeah, and before the big green guy slurps you up, he puts his little transparent membrane around you that turns off your powers and then puts you in like a little stasis. So he slurps up Megan, and then Kurt is just overwhelmed by everyone else. And he tries to bamf. Oh no, no, no! He does bamf away. And then we see this. Oh, body bag. Of course, body bag. What a great name for that character. And he surfs up Kitty, And then we follow with Rachel, who was clearly in that movie studio. Rachel Summers falling, cast out, fleeing from heaven, Hades, never sure which, all the same to her, screaming, cheering, crying, with joy and terror combined. And as all the component elements of her being are shattered, spread beyond reality, beyond conception, to the farthest reaches of creation, where space has no meaning and the time even less. For the infinite moment she is all. A moment later, sort of nothing, as transcendence gives way to reality. And then she's in some type of I was about to say Murder World situation, but it's more of an Alice in Wonderland theme, which Arcade will have early in Excalibur's run. Like I want to say it's like issues 3 and 4, right? And then they do Inferno, or is it after Inferno and Courtney Ross dies then? Future spoilers. And Rachel is back to being chained down, and she's trying to escape this madness. One of the characters is dressed as Thor. And now they're all pulling at her, and she's trying to escape. But instead of Kitty saving her, this time the werewolves have shown up to. I'm sorry, werewolves show up and start taking all these um manners of people. And then Rachel's freed, and they're chasing her. And then one of them scratches her back. And this is pre giant phoenix tattoo, which I'm not sure if she still has, but I imagine we must have seen her bareback by now in the Krakoan era, and it must have been gone by now. And then she backhands a werewolf, through a wall, and then she notices it's a way out. She goes through it. She thinks she's just still in Mojo World, but actually she's in London because you see the big old Ben, or just Big Ben. And coming soon, National Lampoon's Animal House. So that puts it in the time of it. And now I'm trying to think. Did Rachel ever get her vengeance on Mojo or Spiral? I feel like they never come across each other anymore. And now this is daytime, so everything's brightly lit. And Rachel's on the run trying to get to the subway. Or I imagine British call it a subway, right? Then she jumps on a train, it goes through. I said subway and this train, so they're not interchangeable. It's a subway. And then he's trying to get to her. She just blasts on the back end of it. Possibly a caboose, but I don't think they call the last train and car in a subway a caboose, but maybe. I'm getting all my train terminology. And then she's just going by. She senses all the passengers on the subway car freaking out about her. There, and she says, "I better get off of here." And then the werewolf that she blasted away did die, and all the other werewolves catch up and start howling. And the Technic hear the howling and just take note of it. Meanwhile, back at a certain lighthouse, and we see Nightcrawler has finally made it to the lighthouse because he's aware of. Yeah, I don't really know how he knows where Captain Britain was. But he took him all day to get there, and he grabs Captain Britain's passed out body and just tosses him into the water, which is freezing. And then Brian like splashes out of it, all ready for a fight. Nightcrawler's wearing this nice, handsome brown sweater, matching brown cap. And he's like, "I don't have time to apologize for you, nor have you earned an apology." Over coffee, Nightcrawler relates today's events. And so it took him all day, but he finally got back. Brian doesn't see the point of what's the point of rescuing Megan or his friend Kitty. Like, you're just going to die in the end anyways. They're no heroes. And Kurt's like, well, I'm not a hero either. I never call myself a hero. That's for other people to say. And like, he's literally lifts Brian up by his shirt and like tosses him against a wall because of how durable Brian is. Like, the wall behind him is cracked. He's like, it isn't fair. They're dead. It's far worse that I remain alive to grieve for them because it's more pain than I can endure. But I am alive, Braddock. Must remain true to myself as to their memory. If that is more than you can handle, Captain Britain, I am sorry to have troubled you. And Brian still doesn't want to leave, and so Kurt's just like, no, perhaps not. But do you, Air Braddock, have even the slightest idea what it's like to truly live? And Brian's like, wait! Memories, lying broken and bloody, more ragdoll than man, watching the executioner hands rise, the gun flash, so afraid, and then waking up, reborn, whole. Oh yeah, because Brian has died before, and then came back pretty much hollow, but never healed, knowing death must come again, haunted by the certainty that this time will truly be the end, terrified by the fear that it won't. Because maybe he's like Dazzler, who up until Dead X-Men 1 may have been immortal, with the ability to die, but come back mysteriously, miraculously. Then Rachel has stolen a a leather jacket. She comes across a fantasy store which has the word Excalibur on a picture and a model Excalibur in a stone. But I believe the weapon Excalibur is actually from the Lady of the Lake, but it's often, confused for one and the other. Sword in the Stone, Excalibur, Knights of the Round Table, or maybe it's just a nice stand that the Excalibur's in. The Once and Future King, Camelot 3000, just all these signifiers that, yeah, they're in Britain. And then she's looking at all the items, and then she sees the Technic faces reflected in the screen. Neurotoxin instantaneously inhibits the sin masses, so nothing voluntarily works. Breathing's okay, heartbeat too, all the autonomic stuff, but the mind goes fuel blank. The body reduced to a sack of meal to be folded in which way no problem goes down smooth and easy. And Rachel is now in body bags back as well, so he has three big old eggs on his back. And Gatecrusher's like, reach your limit, poor thing. Not to worry. Now that we have our prize, they can leave. And then all of a sudden they get attacked by the war wolves, which is just fun that, bad guys fighting bad guys. And then we see has been watching from the shadows, and he's like, well, I got here and I saw what was happening, but then I saw the fight, so might as well let the fight. See what happens at the end. But then he realizes he needs to get his friends out of body bags back. And so he um, stomps on body bag's head, taking him down. And then he jumps on top of the eggs, and then a werewolf slashes all three eggs wide open. The ladies pour out. Rachel's the first one to get up on her knees as she was the last one in, so she's less effect. And so Rachel's trying to shake off the gogginess. Gatecrusher's about to smash Kurt into the ground when Captain Britain's like, I strongly suggest Gatecrusher that you restrain yourself and reconsider this particular operation, or you will answer to me. And Gatecrusher throws, oh no, no. And then Thug throws a werewolf into Captain Britain, and then he curses himself for making such a dumb speech or like that. And then as he's just thrown into a storefront, and Thug chases after him to keep punching him. Um, Rachel tries to help out, but then gets put into all these rings, which I don't remember this technique, but must be some type of ring master person. But as Kitty lunges forward, Joy Boy takes her fondest desire to be solid once more and makes it rude reality as she gains a lot of weight, but is happy about it. And then the blue snake lady um, intercepts a werewolf trying to get to Rachel. And oh yeah, this lady's able to shrink people, and I forget what her name is. They don't repeat it here easily to discover. Oh yeah, China Doll. And she can enlarge or shrink, and she usually likes to shrink. So she turns him into a cute little Boston Terrier sized shape. And Megan's finally coming too. This is Waxworks. Oh yeah, he's a big orange narrow thing with legs and strings for arms. He's very unique looking. This is Waxworks. The merest touch and the body loses all firmness. And poor Megan just pretty much turns into silly putty. And Brian's like, Megan! So decent a man, so easily fatally distracted. By concern for those he cares about, a monetary thing that scatterbrain turns into an eternity. Her caress fires all his neurosynapses at once. And then Kurt's trying to get away from a werewolf. And then he tosses um, the one he was fighting into the ringmaster gal, who then falls into Waxworks. And Rachel is able to break out of the chains. Oh yeah, and Kurt's thinking to himself like, yeah, the technics are beating us because they're working as a team and we're not doing that. And so then he starts, teamwork. So he helps the people he knows. So he gets Rachel free, who then takes out Joy Boy, who then Kitty shrinks back to her regular size. Kurt drop kicks China Doll into Gatecrasher, who shrinks down just a little bit. Slightly taller than Kitty, who then Kitty's like, um, I'm just gonna take all my concentration to stay solid. Body will hurt tomorrow from the strain, but boy, is this worth it! And then just knocks out Gatecrasher. And then the lizard teleports everyone away. Gone as well, preferring discretion the better part of valor. To lick wounds, mourn lost comrades, gain strength, and plan for another chase, a happier day. And so Kurt checks on Kitty. Rachel walks over to that store. Brian and Megan hug and kiss. Kitty or Rachel notices the Excalibur sword, starts having an idea. Kitty's happy to see Rachel's back. We get a great panel of the three X-Men hugging and crying. Kurt doesn't look like he's crying, but he's pretty happy. Another night, after the mess in London has been tidied up and explanations made to the appropriate authorities, atop the Scots Highland. And they're all having a little barbecue, which is fun. Um, Kurt's making, like, toasting a marshmallow. Oh, yeah, and they're all sharing stories. Oh, yeah. So Professor Xavier spends weeks programming the danger room for my trial session, which is in issue 141. And I walk through it untouched with my eyes closed. And everyone laughs. And Kurt tells a story about how Logan dared him to walk down the street of Salem Center without his image inducer. Kitty's like, oh, Nightcrawler, I'd give anything to have seen that. He's like, your turn, Rachel. Any memories of X-Men you care to share? And Rachel shares how, like, she can't trust any of her memories anymore with the Phoenix Force or her time hop. She's not certain of anything anymore, but she knows who she is and how she feels, so um, she's okay with that. And then Brian's like, okay, well, I think it's time for us to go. And Rachel's like, wait, wait, wait. Don't you guys want to hang out more? And they're like, why would we hang out more? And then Rachel gives the mission statement, or is she like, the dream, Captain. Charles Xavier's dream of a world where all Earth's children, mutants and otherwise, live together in peace and harmony. Where people are judged for who they are, not what they look like or how they're born. That's why he created the X-Men to exemplify that dream. Are you saying simply because the X-Men are dead, we're supposed to give it up? And Kitty says, the dream we had, Nightcrawler, do you remember back before the crazy caper began? In it, Rachel said to me, when the reality no longer exists, exploiters can take the legend and make it wherever they want, good or bad. So Kurt's like, so you want us to become a team? And Rachel, this is the filmsiest compare or connecting tissues. Like nobody can do that. But King Arthur had a dream too. And using the Phoenix Force, she creates a giant King Arthur in the sky of a world where might served right instead of subjecting it. His knights of the Round Table were the agents of that dream, and his sword Excalibur the symbol of it. He died, the table was destroyed, and then we see the Excalibur in the air. His knights mostly slain, yet the dream survived. They became legend, and the sword that means of keeping the legend alive and vital through the ages. And then it becomes a giant Phoenix Force. And she has Phoenix text for this too. The X-Men thought enough for Professor Xavier's dream to offer up their lives. It is so much to ask that we fight to preserve it. The sword Excalibur presented hope. It was light in the darkness of fear and ignorance of hate. And then this is dark again, so it's her regular speech. Have we the right to snuff it out? And Kurt's like, myself, I stand for truth, and I stand by you. And then Megan's like, Rachel's life sounds much like mine, Brian. I won't have anyone else endure such horror. I like this dream. It's worth fighting for. So Rachel's in the middle. To her right is Kurt holding his hand out to Kitty. And to her left is Megan holding out her arms for Brian. And of course, let's end this the other way. Oh, no, no, no. So Kitty and the great splash final page with Phoenix Force and the foursome. No, I'm sorry, the fivesome. And Kitty's like, what the heck? Count me in. And Brian says, with all my heart. And it's Kitty, Kurt, Rachel, Megan, and Captain Britain. And so, with laughter and transcendent joy, the dream is reconsiderated and Excalibur, that most ancient and noble blade, once more redrawn. The beginning. And this comic had no ads in it at all, so it's just an amazing one shot. So for 325, no ads. I'm sure it's 48 pages. Oh, yep, exactly 48 pages. And the back cover is this widget, which we don't even know who that is at this point. So a slight tease for things to come. And so everyone, that is Excalibur Special Edition #1. There will be no Special Edition 2. Everything else will have its own proper one-shot title, like Mojo Mayhem or Weird War 3 or Annuals 1 and 2. Um, and so Paul Neary, miss you. We've lost Dan Green and now Paul Neary, so two legendary inkers. Makes you really want to appreciate all of our living legends and to honor our fallen legends even more so. Um, and it's just, sad we're losing our creators. I know there's times where I think, well, I never think about, like if Stan Lee ever passed, I will want to take that day off. But I went to work and I'm pretty sure I spent most of the day just on Twitter, just being like, hey everyone. Um, but I do think about like what happens when Chris Claremont passes away because I want to say he's in his 80s now, so it's like hopefully, but he's writing that Wolverine mini series right now. That's a sequel to his Captain America Black Widow Wolverine comic that Jim Lee did. Um, is it called Matterport Nights? I don't know. Psylocke and Jubilee were in it, so that was cool. Um, and then if Paul Smith passes away, I'm going to be a total wreck. And Tom Chorowski, Glennis Oliver, they're still with us. Bob Wildkick is still with us. So my favorite um, X-Men creative team is still intact. But yeah, our 80s, 70s creators, I mean, they're now in their 70s and 80s. So it's like, how crazy is that? And it makes you realize how young they were when they were making these comics. So I don't know. It reminds me of someone on Twitter who reached out and was like, hey, I know you're super young. And so I forget who the creator was, but they reached out and was like, hey, I just want you to know with the passing of this artist, I just want you to know that I love your work and you're one of my favorites. And they wrote a nice thing like, hey, I'm in good shape, so no worries for me. But yes, I appreciate you reaching out. I was like, well, yeah, that's probably the best way. And how awkward must that be? Like, hey, in case you pass, I want you to know I like you. It's like, like this is awkward, but yes. Um, Uh, so that was that issue. I'm not gonna do an issue for Fall of the House of X 2. Kate is in Paris to help out Scott, but Dr. Gregor catches up to him first and wants to tell him about Sentinel City because she finally realizes that clearly, well, Scott's comment about like what's going to happen once you kill all the mutants to Omega Sentinel, and Gregor finally realizes, oh yeah, they're just going to kill the humans next. So either Kate's going to catch up and the three of them go to Sentinel City, or most likely Kate's just going to be in Paris and Scott and Gregor are going to be just elsewhere. Spider-Gwen Smash 3 was pretty fun. It continues the Stalker angle. We get confirmation who the Stalker is. Only Dazzler and Pixie was there. I did not see Lila Cheney. But it was a great comic, but I didn't count it in my top 10 best comics of 2024 is I feel like unless you're an official X title, like you gotta have at least three X-Men in your book. But great Dazzler lyrics. That was fun to read. Um, and then we're like 2 weeks away from X-Men Volume 6, Issue 31, where Kate catches up with Magic and Lockheed. Um, and I'm super excited about that. And I'm going to be hopefully not obnoxious, but just going to be a giant fan of that issue. And then, and this Madam Web's out this weekend. I'm going to see if my wife will let us go. But if not this weekend, maybe next weekend. But I do still have one more Spider-Woman related comic to review. I chose to do this one instead because, Paul Neary passed away and we should honor him. And we can do that Spider-Woman comic at any time. Plus, it's the wrong Spider-Woman, but it's one of my favorite issues. So, that should be out. If we don't do Madam Web this weekend, then I guess the Sunday episode will be the Spider-Woman appearance, which I'm being vague for, I guess, in hopes that you come back for it. But thank you everyone for listening and supporting the podcast and reaching out and saying such kind words. Really appreciate it. And follow the podcast at SNFWM on Twitter and Instagram. I'm gonna post those images of Lockheed um once this episode goes up. You can follow me on Twitter at JackalSII. Also that name on YouTube where I'm doing the tournament. I also did a Marvel Funko Pop Valentine's Day special, and I'm planning on doing a Deadpool 3 video as well as a oh right. So Deadpool 3 trailer came out. It was amazing. Um we saw Patch, which then I try to get some jokes made about who they're going to cast for Patch. The TVA got Deadpool, which is an amazing setup. That someone mentioned how like by the time Deadpool 2 was being finalized, the Disney purchase of Fox was happening, so they clearly were setting this up for Loki, which I want to say Loki wasn't even out yet, the TV series that is, but I could be wrong about the timing of it all. But what great planning of that, though. It just sinks in perfectly. There's a bunch of desert scenes where you can see the 20th Century Fox logo in the background, so that's fun. Pyro's there, so trying to manage my expectations of how many X-Men are going to show up. If James Marsden shows up, that would be amazing. Which I should watch Interstate 66 again, or Interstate 60, because I love that movie. And just all X-Men characters would be amazing. And uncanny. And astonishing. Extraordinary. Remember that title? Probably shouldn't bring that one up. Almost freaked out. I wonder if that's going to be picked up, but it was like a water hose just got launched or something where it's like, what was that? Or water. Anyways, you probably did not pick it up, and so I'm just freaking out about nothing. Um, I was doing a bunch of silly things about Deadpool. Oh yeah, and then it ends with Wolverine popping his claws, and then like you see him for that half second. So it should be just spectacular. And then today we got X-Men 97, the first trailer, March 20th. If they do one episode a week, I am going to cover each episode. Just should be fun. If I can, I'll get Walker D to help with that. Uh, but um, if not, it'll just be solo me. But it's been a while since Walker D's been on the podcast, and I've been missing him and his voice and the chit chat we do. But so those are future plans. Saturday I will launch the next round of XAX. It will be Miss Marvel versus Black Panther. I already got some ideas of what I want to have shown, so I'm excited about making that video and the other videos. Um, so yeah, so keep track of the YouTube channel. Got some content coming your way. And once again, thank you everyone for listening. It really means the world to me that there are listeners and dedicated listeners. And I know Comic Book Careers Legacy makes jokes about their three listeners, but I'm like, I really appreciate my listenership, and they definitely have a lot more listeners. So I'm like, oh, one day I want to make jokes about three listeners and have it not have a tinge of like, oh. But thank you, everyone. If you ask a friend to listen, that would be great as we try to get more I was about to say views up, but downloads up and listenership and just interactions. So I've stalled long enough. So thank you again, everyone, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.